Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon. More than meets the eye.
Are you the key master?
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man. No time to talk.
As if.
Hey guys, this is Christy. How's it going? Oh, I forgot to do the present thing. Anyway, so I just wanted to give you a call and let you know that this is what I'm doing right now. And let me add this fucker to the stream. Phil will be on in a little bit, but this is what I'm doing right now is I'm drawing the new cover for the next Demon Bitch graphic novel. And it will probably be awful, but that's okay. And we're going to go do that. Hold on, let me add it to the stream. Phil's in another area. I think he went to a strip club, so there you go. I will also...
I went to a strip club? Really?
That's what I said you did. Anyway, so you should be ashamed of yourself. Anyway, so I also am, because...
Oh, cool. Roadrunner.
So this is what we're going to do. I am going to go and pop this fucking Photoshop down here, but I actually am going to be in Culver City. Let me see. Oh, it's not showing. That's stupid. All right,
I'm thinking if I should take an Uber there to Culver City. Well, yeah, I know it's 2 hours, but still, like, it's mileage on a car. So, like, I'm thinking, you know, if it's more advantageous to just take an Uber back and forth, because that way I'm not putting mileage on my cars.
You mean your shitty car?
Hey, the Honda is the Flipmobile.
No, it's a fucking shitty car, dude. You need to get a better car.
Don't hate my Honda.
Okay, I could only find out where your house was when I saw your Honda, dude.
That is true. That is true.
All right, so let's see here. We're doing so like what I'm doing right now is I'll be on the 18th. I will not be present here now. Cost wants us to go and like record it, but I don't know if we're going to record it for a whole hour, and I got to move locations. But we got. I mean, if you want to record it, hey, great, awesome. I'm
Yeah.
down. But I'm going to go and upload that. But I wanted to go ahead and show you guys. I am showing up at the signing at 12 to 3 p.m. in Culver City. That's in Jefferson, and that's in Manhattan Beach, and this is the fucked up one. I'm very annoyed with technology, so let me go ahead and get the better one. So I actually fixed it, but then it kind of did a lot of other stupid shit. So let me go ahead. So this is the better one. This is the shitty one. This is the better one right here. So, oh, thank you. I went ahead and he popped that up on there too. There's another one too that I have up here. And yeah, that's Culver City right here. This is a shitty one. Let me delete this one. So this one, we're going to be I'll be signing copies of Demon Bitch, but you can also buy stuff from me. So feel free, come by, talk. I'll do sketches for money and stuff like that. That'll be great. And I dropped a pen here because I'm such an organized individual. So yeah, but check out the comic bug. It'll be up all across my socials and everything. And it'll be great. But I won't be here next week. So I'm going to go and give a pre-recorded whatever the fuck I need to do. So yay. So if you're wondering, the new graphic novel I'm doing for Demon Bitch is called Pen is Here. So when you see it written, it's going to be a horrible, dirty joke. But I can sell it at conventions because it's not really about a penis. Anyway.
When is it going to drop?
I'm trying to aim for the Kickstarter probably in March. Maybe in April. Because, to be honest, it's like I got a little bit late on the goal. But I was actually wanting to do it because I was sort of waiting on cost to kind of stabilize, if that made sense.
Oh, absolutely. Inflation has been nuts.
Yeah, it's actually quelled up a little bit, but I think right now what we're looking at is that I need to go and find out the cost. And also after the 22nd, that's when we get the new shipping rates for January. So I need to have a much more accurate way of what I'm going to ship because they're going to increase. So I want to see how much that increases too.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, with price, with the dollar the way it's going. I mean,
yeah, I think paper stabilized, but still.
Yeah, what's crazy is like I couldn't get a new art computer, the one I wanted, because it's on back order because they're still behind on all the computer chips. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, we're just shipping some. So basically, I'm getting all of this stuff done. But yeah, it's like the pen is here, and this is the pen. See, Demon Bitch holding the pen. I'm such a little dick sometimes. I swear to God.
But you're a wonderful dick, so we love you for it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's weird because it's like I'm fucking like a little asshole, but yet I do Holly homemaker shit sometimes too. Like I just had a bunch of persimmons my parents gave me, but they were going soft, so I made a bunch of persimmon preserves, and people fucking love them.
Oh, persimmon preserves, delicious. That's also good. Persimmon bread. I'm trying to find a bakery that does it good out here, but we don't. Not in my area anyway.
I haven't seen anybody do persimmon bread in a while, if at all.
Yeah, my grandmother used to make the best persimmon bread. Oh man, I don't know what it is about Navajo bread making, but damn, they know how to make the best persimmon bread I've ever had.
The only thing I'm actually familiar with in native culture is like fry bread. And I know that's like not the only thing. And the only other thing that I've ever seen grain making or cooking would be like with the oloni with the acorns.
Yeah, they bake pretty good moonshine too.
All right. There you go. What, the Navajo did moonshine?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. They would ferment their corn, their excess corn that they planted, and make the best moonshine bourbon ever, man. That shit would fuck you up.
Oh, is there any way we could get a bottle? That'd be cool. I don't want to get fucked up, but I do love hard liquor like bourbon and shit.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'll bring you a jar.
Okay. Is it something you can make by yourself or what? Is it like a moonshine type thing?
Oh wait, no. Like my grandfather, on my real dad's side, he sent me a couple of jars. I'll bring one up.
Oh, okay, cool. We get to go try it and all that. It's like funny because we were talking about the Navajo culture earlier, and I told you about that fucked up dream I had, dude. And
Oh
remember I
yeah.
told you, like, I watched the video on fucking Navajo skinwalkers. If you want me to go get fucked up mentally, just play the Navajo skinwalkers. For some reason, like the skinwalkers just fuck my shit up like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah. No. Honestly, when they used to tell us those Skinwalker stories when I was a kid, it literally was like they were old school like morality tales.
Yeah, it's basically like I don't know, like this is what I've heard in ranging. So I have friends that are Ojibwe. I think that's how you say it. I'm kind of bad about, but like that whole encompassing area, Navajo, Ojibwe, and then what's the other ones that were there in that area? I'm trying to remember.
Say that again. You broke up that. I'm so sorry.
Navajo, Ojibwe, and there's something else.
Well, okay. So every tribe has a different like set of smaller tribes within it, right? So like uh, so it really depends on which area you're talking about. Are you talking about like in Arizona, or are you talking about in Colorado?
I think around the Arizona area.
Okay, the Arizona area is mostly Cherokee and Navajo.
Okay.
Like, so, and that's where I'm from. So, because I in Gila County, in a small town called Globe, there is a reservation right there, which is the reservation I grew up on, and it was a decent little reservation, but like all reservations, there's nothing to do there. Like the housing is crap. The there's literally hardly any stuff there. I mean, except for stray dogs, beer bottles, and people on meth. That's about it. And then you have the casino. No, you know what I mean. But yeah, like when people ask me like, "Oh, why don't you ever go back to the reservation?" I was like, "You ever been on an Indian reservation? There's shitholes. Like, you know what I mean?
They're not
Like,
good.
they're not good at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever leave California. I love it.
Where are the Kickapoo located? I kind of found out about that tribe in another
Okay,
story.
so they're predominantly here in California and Oregon. Predominantly.
Oh, okay. So I thought most of the California tribes were kind of extinct, save the Chumash and a couple of other ones that do the casinos. I think the Chumash, and then there was a couple other ones that I knew of.
Right. The Lusueño, the Chumash, and also then you have the Pala tribe, and then the Changa.
Yeah, so the Chumash are like there's a lot of, so the Kickapoo are more Oregon / like they're more Oregon / like California then.
Yeah, essentially, we used to call them on the tribe that I come from. We used to call them the seaboard Indians because they're all close to like the ocean.
Oh wow, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's weird because it's like I was told by people that were counselors in the system that a lot of the native kids are in, like the native school system. I'm sorry guys, I don't know any other word for it because sometimes there's a separate school system, which is kind of interesting. And every reservation has its own thing. So I'm not speaking from experience like I've been to one. I'm just saying in general, from what I've heard of people worked or involved. They were talking about how like even that fucking tribal shit like carries on. Like, so if, for example, if you have the Pawnee and the Kickapoo not liking each other or whatever, or the Apache or whatever, I don't know which ones had feuds. But I think it was like the Sioux and the Pawnee didn't like each other. They would actually take it out on each other in school. It was really fucking weird.
Oh no, and it still goes on today. Like the Pala and the Pechanga Indians, their tribes, yeah, they'll go into each other's casinos, rent out hotel rooms, and fuck up the hotel rooms because they don't get along.
Yeah, that shit still carries on today, guys. You didn't know that? That happens.
Yeah, it's crazy how that happens. Straight up.
Yeah. So it's like when they talk about, like the native peoples actually weren't very good to each other either. That's the thing. Like it wasn't
What?
just like invading people. It was actually a lot of it was to do with like, people that actually like it was basically along the tribes that would fuck each other over.
Oh yeah, straight up. I'm gonna be honest and straightforward about it. Like because I'm half white, I was like abused on that reservation. That's why I tell people like I don't ever want to go back to my reservation because racism does exist in certain tribes. It's 100% a real thing. In fact, I think it was when I visited Colorado to the other half of the tribe one time, and um, you know, one of the my cousins, she got in trouble for dating, just like my real dad did, got in trouble for dating a white person. Like, my mom's white, and yeah, like there are some hardcore purists
Mhm.
in the tribes,
Mhm.
and a lot of kissing cousins. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they want to keep that bloodline
Uh,
pure, which I find stupid.
so here's the thing. Rosetta is also part native. I forget which tribe, and I know they're not monolith as natives. And I actually explained that earlier. I said this is like certain areas. So again, I said I don't have. Yeah, yeah. So the thing is that I understand that I wasn't presuming. So I want to make that very clear. So,
Yeah.
yeah, as I said, no, I'm just letting her know because it's like I hate it when people just jump. Please remember, this is still not the majority of us. It's like I wasn't assuming that either. I'm asking for people's different things. This is what I've seen and heard, but I have not been on an actual reservation. So, again, you know,
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It is not the majority. Um, it's listen, like I still have family members that are in the Navajo tribe that reach out and wish me Merry Christmas and everything, and are very loving people. They don't judge me for being, having the white side. They don't judge me or any of that. I mean, it's my stepdad once told me there's good and bad in both races, in all races, because it's called humanity.
yeah,
So it is what it is. You just I just find it funny when the woke crowd comes in and goes, oh, what about this, that, and whatever, and then they bring up my Indian heritage, and I'm going like, or I like freaking them out, and they're like, well, you've always had a great life because you're white. And I'm like, I grew up on a reservation. That shit sucked.
yeah. Like with Rosetta, she said her mom was being for being white was beaten and tortured on a reservation during the AIM era. I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah,
That's what she was
yeah.
saying earlier in the comments. But she says it's anybody watching. But she's please forgive me if I'm massacring. It says Oglala Lakota Sweet Sioux. Sorry, Jesus. Oglala Lakota Sioux. Is that how I pronounced it? I don't know the language. I'm sorry, but
No, you got it pretty close. You got it pretty close. Actually, I'm gonna give you a golf clap on that because I know my Korean sucks. The only thing I remember from Korean is Shiba, and what was the other one? That's it. I only know how to say shit there in Korean. I used to be a lot better.
so how does Navajo and Sioux? How do the tribes get along with those? I mean, obviously it doesn't. I don't know if it matters now, but I just am curious to know the relationship between the two tribes.
Honestly, I don't know. I stay out of the tribal politics because I don't get the money. Like I qualify for it, but in order for me to qualify for it, like I would have to move back on the reservation, and I'm like, no thanks.
Mm.
And what's crazy is that no one talks about it. The bloodlines of all indigenous people are becoming less and less pure, to where they lowered the standard for how much Indian you need to have in your blood and heritage to get the government checks, which
Yeah,
is nuts. Which
so
is nuts.
I knew a dude that was card carrying Seneca, but that's all I know about it. So I know like different tribes will have different requirements for card carrying as well as benefits, and that's individual per tribe because this is Canada. So my friend Dan, his mom, I don't even remember what tribe she was at, but it was a Canadian tribe. But there weren't any purebloods. There weren't any purebloods existing as of yet anymore when she was around. So
Right.
what it was is that she was a certain percentage, but she still got tribe benefits, I think. But the southern and northern tribes rarely got along. I'm thinking probably due to distance. They're like, who the fuck are you? And I'm pretty sure they were entitled.
Northern and southern tribes are they clashed a lot, and they still do. Again, I'm not in the politics or politicking because, like, even here in California, some of the tribes disagree with each other. Like, there's some tribes that were for certain bills and certain tribes that weren't. Like the homeless bill, like, taxing the casinos where they help out the homeless. And the reason why I disagreed with that is because I did work as a homeless outreach provider here in this state, and all it is just mismanagement of funds. Like, we spent $1 billion in California to fix our homelessness, and it's just going up and up and up and up. Like, and that's because mismanagement of funds. It's not because they need money. So, I sided with my tribe on that, but I didn't side with them on the other stuff. The other stuff that they were saying I disagreed with.
Yeah, that's the thing why I was saying, like, Rosetta, that's why it was more cultures or religions, and cultures are hyper different. But there is, like, the further you go apart from each other, the more different you'll be. That's what I mean. There's, like, a lot of differences the more distance is, or what it used to be. Not
100%.
So she says, casinos, blah, ha, ha, ha. There ain't no casino. See, the thing is, I just know of some key ones, like, what was it? The Chumash, the Pachunga, right? Pachunga. And then there's like a couple of others. But I know there's a few California tribes that are not
what's messed up is certain tribes will make it to where other tribes, hold on one second.
My noodle cat is going and crawling all over me. Oh, there we go. Cara de Lane gets a lot of the casinos near the bunch of cities. Yeah, because I know it's like regional too. It's like weird how each tribe kind of worked it out too. That's, at least in California, that's how I understand it to be. Again, I'm not an expert on this. As I said, I was never raised in any of the cultures, but I just get from what I hear from people who are counselors that are there.
Yeah, sorry, I was ordering my lunch. Here's where the casino stuff gets really messed up. So technically, there is actually because every tribe is its own sovereign nation. There's an actual thing like the FBI that polices all the tribal areas, and it's like it has an acronym like the FBI, but basically. They just act like the FBI on tribal lands. That's all they do.
Isn't that Thunderheart? Didn't we touch on that? Like one of the guys was like in something like that, the FBI version of Native.
Yeah. But there's a lot of the reason why some tribes don't get casinos or hotels is because the fact that the politicking in the political arena. It is brutal to get those casinos built. Yeah. And if your tribe doesn't have like a special person on the council, it's hard to get those casinos. So like when the Palo Indians did theirs, they opened their casino. It took them 10 years to get their license because of all the politics. So
Palo is down in near San Diego, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right where I'm at.
Yeah. No, but it was like because she said Thunder Hunter is about to sue most of that story took place. No, but didn't they have like an FBI for Indian Affairs? I think that's what they called it. It was something. Yeah. It was like it was something for Indian Affairs or something like that. But it was like Philip was explaining earlier. It was like kind of like the FBI but for the native culture.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. Every tribe has its own police. In its own fire station. You typically, when you go to the reservations, they have their own stuff. And when you break a law, well, at least this is how, because I was a tribal cop for the Paula Indians for a while, and and I found it weird that in order to do my job, I had to go get a guard card so I could carry a gun, because the way the agreement with the Indians and the American government was set up, like, we couldn't carry guns on the police force down there unless we had a guard card from California, which never made any sense. But because at the same time, I know plenty of friends on the Paula Drive that have fully automatic machine guns because they don't have to obey our California laws because it's its own country. Once you cross that threshold and get onto the Indian reservation, they make up their own rules, and you have to follow them. You know, but yeah, I just some of the stuff that happens on those things are weird. Just being honest, like like for instance, when we went to arrest a guy at the Apollo Casino, and we went to release him to the San Diego cops because they banned him from the reservation. He could no longer, because he was essentially a drug dealer. We caught him with a brick of meth, a brick of heroin, and like 8 cell phones. And when we arrested him, like the San Diego cop was like, "Oh, that's not his stuff." I was like, "How do you know it's not his stuff?" He's like, "Well, the hotel room that you guys arrested him at was not under his name." I was like, "No, but he was there with all this shit, and the cops just let him go." So eventually, with the Paula Indians, dude, if they catch you with drugs, they'll lock you in their jailhouse now, and it is a shitty jailhouse. Let me tell you.
Is it worse than the Twin Towers Correctional Facility in Los Angeles? Because I heard that's one of the worst top 10 jails.
That I don't know, but the Paula jail is you're sleeping on a hard bench, and they handcuff you to it, so you don't got much room.
That kind of reminds me of like Los Angeles County Jail. Like apparently they will handcuff, some inmates were handcuffed to the chairs, and they could only, because like what it is somebody described to me like how the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, this is not confused with the New York City Twin Towers. It's like, this is like just, it's called the Twin Towers. It's in downtown LA. And what it is that it's kind of like, my friend explained to it, it's like it's like a high school, but you can't leave. And you actually go into your jail cell to sleep. The rest of the inmates walk around pretty much within the jail. The problem is that where you sleep, you don't really know. And it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. By the way, Eagle Rider, federal police do a lot of protecting of the criminals and target innocent people on the reservations. I've seen that happen when I was growing up a lot. The treaties hyper control a lot of those rules. Yeah, no, it's true. It's crazy that the treaties really elevated certain families and certain tribes, and while keeping other families and other tribes poor. It's a dirty politics game, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
It's probably the warfare has probably switched to more political and more corruption, right? You would say?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, each time a tribe that doesn't like each other opens a casino or a hotel, the tribe that doesn't like them, they'll go in there, rent rooms out, and trash the rooms or other things.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how on my show we talk about the most weirdest and random subjects, but hey, why not? Oh, fuck. That's gnarly. Yeah. Oh, that's bad.
That is why the kidnapping and trafficking of Native women is an epidemic, and it's over 90%. Yeah, no, it's true. 95% of the outsiders. Because I'm gonna share this because I used to work before I went and worked in the police over at Paula. I was CID in the Army, and human trafficking was huge, rampant, like that we'd had to keep an eye on and stuff. And what's creepy about the indigenous women being kidnapped and sex trafficked is the fact that like it comes from mainly the Sinaloa cartel that does it because they come in and flash their money girl to get off the reservation, and at that point they snatch them up, and it's scary, super scary.
Yeah. One credit to the Sioux, and my tribe has issues, but we work with rivals of hundreds of years during the Trail of Tears here to help women and children of rival tribes. Hey, good on you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah. Honestly, I would like to meet you. You sound like a cool person. I definitely buy you a beer. 100%.
I mean, I ask you about this stuff because it's like I hear it, but I want to hear veracity of people that are actually like in this thing. It's not like I'm trying to say it like, well, we want representation, like the fucking idiots over there. Like,
Oh no, you're fine. I mean, because here's the thing. When it comes to tribal life, everyone has different experiences, right? Like, it kind of reminds me of this. When I was in the Army, there used to be a meme that made us all laugh, where it would go, deployments vary. Where, like, some people when they deployed, they went to, like, a nice place where they had a Starbucks and a McDonald's. And then there's some of us that got deployed like I did, where you were put in a shithole and didn't shower for 3 months, shit like that. So like it really depends on a lot of stuff. So when you're asking questions, you can ask the same question to 100 different tribal people and get 100 different answers because all of our experiences are not the same. It's not.
The thing is, it's interesting because it's like, as I said, why I kind of touched on the subject because I used to do a book called Personal Monsters. Now I've had people from all sorts of backgrounds buy that book and they really identify with it. One guy said, "This will help me through my divorce." I'm like, like he bought the book and as he was leaving, he said, "This will help me through my divorce." I'm like, okay. And then I've had ones, oh, that's fucked up. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like one of the things, there was a counselor that worked, I think she was with the Paula natives, right? Paula Indians. And she was telling me a lot of the native kids would be, they came from broken homes. They had all this money from the casinos, their parents would, but their parents like had really bad drug problems. And oftentimes it was they were divorced and shit.
Yep.
And they had really abusive homes too. And they she was telling me that the kids that she knew did not have any motivation to do better. They said, "I already have money. Fuck it. Like, why do I need to do anything?" And then secondly, they had a lot of emotional issues because of these broken homes. And they were even telling me, like, even if it's a kid from a native tribe, they'll treat him like shit. Like if he's from a rival tribe. I don't know which tribes are rival with Apollo. I'm guessing Chumash.
Yeah, so that does happen a lot. What was interesting, I was a cop on the reservation, right? We used to have this saying, the first of the month when the tribe would get paid is when it was the rowdiest, because some of those tribal members would come into the casino, party all their money away in one night. And I shit you, in one night. Like they would buy their meth, they would buy their drinks, they'd buy a hooker or two, and then the wives would be pissed. And most of the time, coming the first of the month, we arrested more women for giving their husbands black eyes for being dumbasses on payday than anything else. Like it was pretty funny, but and we never charged them because like the tribe would come and say, yeah, it's just the woman just needed to blow some steam. All right, and then we uncuff them and turn them back over or whatever. Because ultimately, the tribal police answers to the tribal chief 100% of the time on anything, or at least the one I worked at. I don't know about other tribes because I haven't been back home in Arizona in over 10, 15 years. And then, so I don't know how my tribe is ran anymore. I don't know what they do. And, as a kid, I didn't really know. I just know when we moved to California to get away from it, my life changed drastically, when I was like 8. So like, going as an 8-year-old and then moving here to like, when I had my 9th birthday, I was in Los Angeles. And then, my stepdad took us out of Los Angeles because that's when the riots were happening. And I remember sitting in the back of his pickup truck when he was still legal to drive with the kids in the back of his pickup truck, watching Los Angeles burn to the ground. that was interesting.
Yeah, it's just as I said, it was interesting, like listening to different perspectives on that because it's funny because like in Asia, like you have different perspectives, but with tribes, it just seems like it's more of a I don't want to. It's very more concentrated group of individuals in a way. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have so many governments, you have so many things. And it's not that Asia doesn't have that, but at least you have some delineations. Like this is North and South Korea. This is China. These are different parts of China, or whatever. But like you have the Sioux Nation, and then you have its own little things within that. You have I don't know what other big nations there are, but I know the Sioux have a large nation.
Yeah. Well, no. Eagle Rider is right. So here's the crazy thing. On the reservations, we are taught to depend on daddy government, like 100%. And you can't make it on your own. And that's why a lot of Navajo guys, join the military to escape that, right? Because when you get like some tribes, the tribes with the casinos typically have nicer houses, nicer things, whatever, and then they invest into like businesses out with that money outside of the tribe. Like if you go to Paula, they have this thing called they've got a burger joint, they have a tobacco joint, they have a bar, and then they also have a casino and a hotel, and then the Hera, the Indians that own the Hera's casino, they do the same thing. But then they also use that money to the lesser tribes that they view the lesser, they bar them from getting licenses with that money, right? Like it was not uncommon, like for like certain tribes when the trees would get revisited to pay and lobby to make sure other tribes don't get those gaming rights. For instance, and that's why I was against not like California is about to legalize online gambling anywhere, and the Indians that are against it have their casinos, while the ones that are for it were the ones that were barred from getting casino from those Indians. So
You know what? Rosetta wants to talk to you, by the way. So if you want to bring me over on the show, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sorry that I'm also like multitasking. So
Ooh. Bring it on.
She wants to go talk to you because she's trying to find from people the tribes to talk to. It's kind of interesting. Like we hear American politics, but we've never heard tribal politics. So I think this is kind of interesting. I just want to hear how it is.
Yeah. Okay. So as a kid, I didn't learn this stuff, right? Because when I was on the Navajo thing in Gila County, I didn't learn any of this stuff. It was not until I became a tribal police officer that I learned a lot of this stuff. Like, the treaties with the U.S. government and with other nations, other tribal nations, gets very, very tricky. I just know that, for us to be a cop on the reservation, we had to get a yard card because we weren't allowed to carry guns, which I found weird, considering a lot of tribal members had fully automatic weapons. You know what I mean? And the FBI ain't gonna go knock down the door because it's supposed to be their country, right? So, I just there's a lot of weird things too, or I noticed
that's why I laugh at the sovereign citizen bullshit because I'm like, no, guys, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
So here it is. Here's Rosetta. You guys can go and talk it native politics.
And I'm head to stay. Walking, talking, keep you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. Nice to meet you, Rosanna. Nice to meet you.
No, I grew up here in the Black Hills, and when I was little, we lived very, very close to the border of Pine Ridge. I've spent a lot of time dealing with family on there, and with my family, with my dad being disabled and my medical issues and all that stuff, we grew up in third world conditions, in trying to take care of an entire family and all this medical and shit on $200 a month, even though he was fighting to try to get better. I mean, so when this stuff starts getting talked about, it's something where I have passion because I've dealt with a lot. I also deal with a lot of charities and outreach for victims and stuff where I deal with a lot of these people. So it's stuff that I've been very involved in.
Oh, hey, that's awesome, man. Like, again, I left the reservation, like I said, when I was 8, and then I went to work for a reservation right out the military. And, like, again, when I was 8, I saw a lot of that stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
a lot of that, that poverty, and people are like, well, why don't you get that free government money? Because most Americans think the government just shells out, like, thousands and hundreds of dollars. And it's just like,
the people who think that when I say that I'm a card-carrying member of the tribe, they go, "Oh, so you get checks every month?" It's like, no.
That's not how it works.
Fucking hell, no, I don't.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
and I have to defend my culture and my heritage anyways all the time, because I'm not just that I'm mixed, and my mom is a Celtic white girl, which is why I have a natural hair, even if that's red, even if it is a dark red. But because I actually have a mild form of albino, so I'm actually paler than both of my parents as a mixed kid.
That's funny.
So
because you're Celtic, I mean that's huge of a thing, isn't it?
it's really kind of funny to me because, I've got ultra pale skin and red hair and freckles head to toe, but I also have very, very Sioux build and all that stuff, and grew up in the tribal culture,
Rosetta, I gotta just tell you, I'm not trying to interrupt you to be rude, but this is hilarious though. Here's the thing. My friend Amanda, she's Jewish, right? Actually, not she's Jewish, right? Her boyfriend Nick is a red-haired looking, freckled, palish kind of guy. He is 1/4 Dutch Indonesian, and we make Asian jokes all day long. And he does not look Asian. Like she didn't tell me, and if he didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known that. So we make Asian jokes all the time.
Well, the thing is, everybody talks about my husband when they talk about him being Scotch, Irish, and Swede because that's most of his background. The problem is there's a chunk of that missing there. Because my husband is literally the descendant family line of the adopted son of Henry Morgan.
Oh,
so there's a lot of weird shit there, okay? That just gets there automatically.
Henry Morgan is who again? I think
Pirate.
I've heard him.
He's a pirate, a huge pirate.
One of the big time pirates. He's descended directly from the son that was.
Sorry.
Yeah. So he's descended directly from the child that was taken in by him and raised by him on the ships. So.
Nice.
There's some interesting stuff there, anyways. But they always talk about the fact that he's got the Allen side, he's got all of the Scotch and the Irish and stuff because he was considered the ancestor back was the little redheaded stepchild that was adopted. The whole stereotype, And but my husband has a mixed side, and the thing is that a lot of his family is actually Mexican, and there's some mix of some of the Cherokee and the Native in it. Yeah. So he does have some of that blood, even though he is he's got a brownish hair that has a little bit of a red hue. He's got a freaking orange beard, and he's got freckles more intense than mine from scalp to toe. Freckles. We both have freckles on every inch of our body, which is kind of funny because we're both mixed with a lot of native in us.
I had to like kind of chuckle at the irony when you said scalp, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I'm the one who I got somebody try to tell me that I'm not allowed to talk about native issues because I'm pale. So for the first year or something, I was running my channel. I called all my one-on-one interviews hot seat scalping, so made jokes about scalping the guests.
Oh wow.
Actually, it's funny because Porky's, when I remember of it, the first Porky's, where they had, I think the kid was Navajo or something, and they were giving him shit because it was in the 60s, but the kid stood behind him. And it was actually kind of surprisingly a pro-native movie in that movie. And I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting. They have this hot button issue here.
Well, the thing is that all these movies where the left says they're doing this to honor natives, they get all our culture so wrong. Now, Thunderheart still got some things wrong, but at least Val Kilmer actually went out and lived on the res with them and studied what happened in AIM and stuff.
I love it when the movies learn our language and they mess it up. Like in The Last of the Mohicans, they keep calling the women squaw. That's my squaw, as a wife. Squaw doesn't translate to wife. Squaw translates to pussy. And I find it hilarious.
That depends on the tribe because sometimes it's worse than that. It's the closest you get to a see you next Tuesday. It has a lot of negative connotation also on how it's been used. And a lot of people in the multiple tribes didn't use it as a complimentary word ever. It was used as a slur to the women who were subhuman, sub-tribal compared to the good women of the tribe.
Yeah. Basically, it was like the trash, like when you see a scum drag or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that issue, anyways. And again, that varies by tribe. There were some tribes where their version of it was not a negative word, but that was not common. Most of the tribes, the version they had of that word, it was not positive. So it's one of those things that kind of makes me cringe, like they freaking did with that stupid Last Predator movie, where they technically used the native language. They went and learned a language one tribe. They made a woman from another tribe speak it, and then they mixed like 40 tribes' cultures together incorrectly and said, "Hey, they're honoring natives."
Oh, you know, that actually kind of reminds me of Memoirs of a Geisha. They had all these women that were Chinese, and I was like going, they were like, yes, but they all grew up in Japan. And I was like kind of laughing. I said, but I can tell by their English accent and by their fucking ethnicity, like they're not Japanese.
See,
Hey, Alex.
I think Owl followed you when you were on my channel a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's been a buddy of mine for a while. He's over in England, so.
Yeah. So, and this is why I blame Hollywood for reasons why, like, you know, Americans typically can't tell different Asian cultures apart, because if you look at through our TV shows and our
culturally,
movies,
spiritually, religiously, they're not the same. And I'm sorry, the facial structure and the eye structure are very different depending on which Asian tribe it is and which native tribe it is. I can look at people. Okay, I'll use me and my sister as an example here, because on Dad's side, the native side, there's quite a bit of mix between the Sioux and the Cherokee anymore ever since the Trail of Tears era, because we took in a lot of the women and children from that who were Cherokee. So it's gotten very heavily mixed in. So you've got the mix here. You have women that look Sioux, and that was nomadic warrior women who were high shoulders, were bulky bones, even when we're skinny, we're not tiny by any stretch. We have a semi-high forehead, strong cheeks that have a point actually back here, not up here. Stout jaw, and very high hips, squared off heart rear, let's be honest. And we have very large, flat, nomadic feet. Whereas the Cherokee women, by traditionally speaking, tend to be very short, whereas the Sioux women are very tall. They tend to be very delicate, scrawny features, a very high forehead, very long chin, and very large mouth. That's my sister, and I look like those Sioux. So we're full-blood sisters, and we don't look related at all.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like, you know, because of pop culture, you know, always going like, oh, okay, we're going to make an Asian movie. We're going to cast any Asian in these roles. And then, you know, when people go like, you know, when I went to Australia, you know, Australians were able to tell Vietnamese, Korean, and Japanese apart. I didn't learn how to tell them apart until the Army put me in the Asian Peninsula for like fuck all ever, and I actually got to learn it. You know?
Can we point out how insane it is that they act like you can automatically spot a native by these features? It's like we're as varied as every other culture in the world, and this trying to monolith every racial group as all the same in the entire race is like one of the most asinine, stupid things I've ever seen. And you have one of two perspectives on it. You have either they're trying to make us all like tree-hugging hippies, which no, we're fucking warriors and stuff, or they're trying to make us all like savage, cannibalistic, heart-stealing enslavers and stuff. And like, well, there were a couple South American tribes that did that. That stuff was not the norm for tribes either. Most of us were just like most of the cultures in Europe. We had good and bad mixed within us, and we were trying to find a way to live with each other, and we warred at times.
Now, somebody said, what's the newish Native American Marvel character that was shown a couple of years ago?
Echo.
Shot arrows, but I don't know what
Echo.
Echo.
That was the fucking one. Okay, there's a couple actually. Echo's the first one where Disney, working on this project, not only mixed all these tribes together haphazardly, they listed every fucking person who worked on the project who was Native in the credits by which res they're connected to, like they were trophies. And then they give every fucking, and the whole character is like a combined stereotype of Hispanic, Native, and inner city black all in one. And it's got to have the deadbeat dad, and it's got to have the kids being neglected, and there's lots of addiction and everything else. You can't possibly have a kid that's good in these cultures. And then what the fuck is it with them giving every damn fucking Native character Hispanic names?
You know, I'm kind of laughing because I was just thinking of Wakanda Forever. I'm like, whoa, those had the worst stereotypes ever.
Yeah, and by the way, Wakanda is not an African name. It's a Sioux word.
Oh, really? What does it mean?
Basically a land of women.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So
well here's here's where I get frustrated with
Hold
the
on.
Hollywoods.
Hold on. I saw somebody from that movie won an award, and she did her acceptance speech, and she spoke pretty perfectly English until she got to the words "Wakanda forever." It's like, what the fuck is that, man? It's like her whole dialect changed when she said those two words.
Because she was trying to show off. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was sad. It was sad. And
There's a difference between. There's a difference between. You don't know your language as well, or you don't know English as well, so you struggle back and forth sometimes. I have speech impediments at times that come out because of the issues I've had. I don't know my full language as well as I want to, but I know parts I've been taught throughout my life, and me and my mom have been trying to study more of the dictionary and the language lately. My mom has always been very strong on trying to get me involved in the culture.
Yeah. Well, here's what's funny for me about them like always giving the more Hispanic names. Like my dad, my birth certificate gave me a white boy name on purpose, and I didn't figure because I always thought I was like, okay, so who in my family's not? And when I met my real dad, finally, he was like, oh no, I just gave you a white boy name so you wouldn't get your ass beat in school. Because at that time when you were born, Native Americans were getting jumped in California schools. Those were really.
My mom just named us what she felt like when we were born. And God love my mother. My siblings all have simple, everyday names. Shane, Richard, Melissa. I have fucking Rosetta, which is a Mediterranean word used mostly by blacks now. The fucking tie to me whatsoever in any place, shape, or form. But for some reason, the definition of the name fits me. So that's the weird thing. But it's like, so she gives me this like rare, weird name that has nothing to do with anything I'm connected to.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because like apparently like a couple of Jewish guys actually made up Black Panther. That's the thing, because my friend Lawrence, he is black. So he went to see the first Black Panther, and then he was here during the riots, the first LA riots. I call it version 1.0. And it was weird because it was weird as hell because he sat in the theater with his friend Kinte, and he was sitting there, he was watching it, and he started chuckling. He said, I think two Jewish guys made a Black Panther.
Well, here's the thing that I've actually found checking all the dates and when things were copyrighted and certified. The character Black Panther was actually named 2 years before the group started.
Yes.
Oh, really?
So they actually stole it from him.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it actually was made up by white people. You're right. So
well, if they're Jewish, they would debate that, because I found out that actually Jewish people do not consider themselves white.
Well, technically speaking, it depends on the part of it and how they've mixed through time, because they have both African and European roots that go through that Middle East area.
It's kind of one of those things.
It's a conglomerate race more, actually.
Yeah, it's like I don't touch that. I just say, okay, sure.
But there's still Caucasian in them, so I can say that if I want, because I've got plenty of Jewish people in my family and friends. So I don't care. They're still white in them, and most of the ones I know are openly admit that. But again, they talk about, even if you biblically, if you look up the Jewish line for Jesus, there's mixed races all over the place. They bring in people like Naomi and Ruth, and these people here and stuff. And you actually look, and he's got people pulled in from almost every culture and race that was in that entire region.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
The point was he was supposed to represent all of man that was basically accessible to that area.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because like somebody once had a term called "rip like Jesus," and I said, yeah, he didn't go and fuck with those stupid ass pansy ass chainsaws. He ripped trees apart with his bare hands. That is the Son of God.
He chased the freaking Pharisees with a bullwhip in the temple and overturned tables. That's the Son of God.
Okay, so here's what I laughed when I was in seminary. I told everyone, I was like, if you ever really thought about it, Jesus must have been like a tough, strong, hip-looking dude, because he fashioned the whip himself and then chased all these Pharisees out of the temple, and there's Roman guards there doing nothing.
And then you see the people that talk about Jesus was white, Jesus was black. He wasn't either. He had roots in both races.
Yeah.
That's biblical if you read the research. He would not have been either color because he had so many different mixes in him. The likelihood is he would have been kind of a mid-tone, kind of almost conglomerate color olive skin. That's what likely he would have been scientifically.
Yeah. Well, listen, I got to peace out because I got another interview coming up late.
All right.
Talk to her. I want to talk to you about some more stuff.
All right, sounds good.
All right. See you
Have
guys.
a good day.
Yeah, I figured you guys would be interested to talk. Some
I just
possibly.
got tired of typing while I was trying to write stuff.
No. I mean, it's just like something that it's one of those things that really gets you. And I just I've just been kind of interested. I've been actually kind of interested in it, but then again, it's like I don't want to be like this all-encompassing thing. Like there's some things like yes, the Bureau of Indian Affairs and things like that. There are some things that are generalized, but overall, it's like every nation is different, and it's like people don't understand that. It's like same. He said, "Oh, Doug, same to you. I've been doing a lot of classes." So he's like, "There you go." So it was just interesting to have it, just like have all that stuff and just to listen to it because I like to hear from a different perspective. And what kind of got me into it is that when that woman, she was a counselor, and I think it was for the pollination. When she bought those books and she told me like what happened in the pollination, she never really said it, but she said, "I work in the casinos down in San Diego, so pollination's one of them." So it's kind of interesting because it's like, I don't think the Ohlone are around anymore. I think they're an extinct tribe, but I remember doing like this fucking in-depth report when I was a kid in the Bay Area. We had to do reports on native tribes that we studied. And one of them was the Ohlone. So I picked the Ohlone and I got this book. It was actually a pretty cool book. And they talk about funerary rites and all these other things. And like, I wrote this whole thing about it. So.
Okay, so I have a few things I could suggest you. First of all, if you want to get started in the culture without having to travel to like Crazy Horse and go through the museum with stuff from the different tribes and stuff,
yeah,
or try to travel to these native museums that are mostly in the middle of the country where you're not that close.
Yeah.
One of the things to start with is get a copy of the book Through Indian Eyes. What it is basically it goes through a whole bunch of tribes and gives a lot of their base mythology and culture. Mm-hmm. It's very basic, but it gets you a lot of the starting point so you can see the differences between the tribes. Mm-hmm. It's a good starting point to go from. Get that, and then
also
build
message
on.
me those things so that I have it on a list because I'm also multitasking too. I mean, it's not that I'm not listening. I am listening and just also multitasking too. But yeah, that's what I was curious. Yeah. Oh, Prismatics is on. He said hi. So that was really sweet of him.
Prism, sweetie.
Yeah. So it's one of those things, like, as I said, it was interesting to listen to because you don't want to overgeneralize on something. It's like, I kind of know how that is as Asians because it's like,
yeah. So I was hearing the comments. I wasn't completely sure everything when I came in. So I was clarifying a few things to those in chat in case it hadn't been said because it wasn't completely sure what all had been said yet. So
yeah. I basically said like, this is my experience from what I've heard from other people, but I'm not saying like, this is all
there is an increased addiction level, but between the extreme poverty, the being raised to be dependent on the government, and the fact that our bodies were never adapted to alcohol because it didn't exist in this country until people came over, that explains the extra percentage. It's not as high as the media and the society portrays it, but it is a serious problem. Mm-hmm. It is a little bit higher than Italian and Irish, which is a pretty high bar. But it's not like it's this 80-90% like they try to portray it. I've had people literally say to me, "You're native, so you drink."
That's a stupid assumption.
It's like no.
Well, you're Irish, you're Korean, so you're a drunk. It's like, yeah, we make fun of it, but we have a heavy drinking culture, but that's kind of.
And then I tell everybody, no, I'm native and I'm Irish, and I've never drank a drop in my life. So I mean. Wow. But it's like it's this insane attitude, and that's the thing is, both sides have been kind of pushing to use natives for their agendas so much that literally anybody who's left or right that isn't more center and more rational, the constant idiotic, bigoted statements about natives, whether they think they're speaking for or against them, is insane.
So why did you hate Prey? I heard some of your opinions on Prey on that. So
it's not that I hate the movie itself. I'm not a Predator fan, first of all, so I'm not going to get into it, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
I have a problem with how they handled the tribal culture, because while they went to a tribe to get the language, they didn't use any of that tribe's culture. And most of the people in that tribe were kind of offended and pissed at how they used it once they got the lessons. Mm-hmm. So that's one issue. The fact that they had a Lakota woman speak that and pretend like it was her language, to me, also made me cringe.
What was the tribe again that was supposed to be represented?
Comanche.
Comanche. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Comanche and Lakota cultures do not get along. We've made peace with each
so-
other in modern era, but we're not simpatico culturally. And so the fact that they kind of tried to blend the two together and then they threw in bits and pieces of all these other cultures
I see.
rubbed a lot of natives wrong.
Yeah.
And it's not that we hate the movie. We're kind of tired of Hollywood kind of treating us like a monolith and not taking time to dig deeper and find which is which.
I could understand that.
It's like that stupid native version of Captain America they did with so many stereotypes and so many things of different tribes all rolled into one, badly drawn, and then given a Hispanic name. And then anytime anyone native called it out or said, this is ridiculous, this is offensive, they went, well, it was a native guy who drew it. And I'm like, so? We can't have people in our own cultures that don't understand or respect their culture or their heritage. For fuck's sakes, the guy that was in Village People, what is actually a native guy?
Yeah.
And it's a big cultural no-no to ever wear a headdress that you didn't earn.
Oh, is that why? Why is that?
Because the feathers are given like military medals for acts of bravery.
I see.
That's like wearing medals you didn't earn for military stuff and claiming you're a vet.
Oh, so it's kind of like stolen valor shit.
Yeah, it actually really is.
Okay.
And so him wearing that headdress and joking around about them, that actually offended a lot of natives.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have a curious thing to ask you. What about, what did you think about, I'm trying to think, what did you think about Wind Talkers? That one.
That actually is one that is, I've sat through most of it. It's hard to watch because I've dealt so much with the issue that it's talking about, because that's the epidemic, the kidnapping, the trafficking, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the more accurate movies, but it is very dark. So
The Code Talkers? The Code Talkers?
Wind Talkers, you said, right?
Yeah, Wind Talker. It was with Nicolas Cage. And it
Sorry.
was
I got me confused because the names there a sec. I couldn't hear all of it. So Nicolas Cage is kind of a hit or miss. I don't remember that one offhand. I'm sorry.
That was the
I
one
thought you were
about,
saying the other Wind title there, which I'm very
No,
out of it.
there's a different one called, it was called Wind Talkers or Code Talkers. It was with Nicolas Cage, and I forgot the other actor. I think he was Navajo. But it was about the Code Talker. The Wind
problem
Talkers.
I've had with most of the stuff about Code Talkers, because there's been several things made about them, is that they try to make it sound like the only code talkers and language talkers during the wars were Navajo.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't. They were one of 7 tribes doing it, which also, by the way, included the Lakota.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they kind of have rewashed this history to be like it was all the Navajo doing this for the military is kind of disrespecting all the other tribes that were involved.
What's
Now,
the tribes that were involved, by the way? I'm curious to know, other than Lakota.
I'm trying to remember all of them, but if I can't remember it, I will get it for you next time I go over to Crazy Horse, because they actually have the book of the documentation of it from the military there.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, they actually have the book. They actually talk about the fact that this is one of multiple tribes. These tribes did this part, these tribes did this part, and they actually interwove the different languages intentionally so that they couldn't pick up which one of the languages was and find out what it was either.
Mm-hmm.
So there was actually more complexity to it than that.
Yeah, because it was interesting, because it kind of reminds me in this way of Hindi, and this is what I mean. Like, I have a friend in India, right? So when she talks a mixture of English and Hindi. And in the movie, they mixed like the native language with English language. Like I said, I'm not going to even try to imitate some of the words because I don't remember them. But he said like, oh yeah, we're going to go and do, and then they'll put in the native language word in their vocabulary. It's like, yeah, don't you think like it would just be regular English, but then they intersperse it with certain codes that they would put in. That was of the native language, basically, or a mixture of the native languages. It's just like, as I said, I just get a beat in my head and I want to learn.
That's where a lot of these words that got picked up in comics and stuff came from. That's where words like freaking Wakanda and stuff came from. There were native words that were used in these codes, and so people heard them and didn't understand what they were and picked them up.
What does Wakanda mean exactly?
It was a female-led society.
It was a what?
Female-led society.
A female.
That's basic. This is as close as I can translate it easily. It's a lot more complicated than that, but yeah.
Gotcha. I see.
Because the Lakota were one that felt that you were supposed to honor and have sacred to women because they were the givers of life.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why most of the Lakota women didn't fight. It wasn't because we weren't allowed to. It's because we were considered too important to lose. So the women that usually were braves or fought with the men or hunted with the men were the women who couldn't have families, couldn't do this stuff. And so they lost part of the honor that they had naturally. So they did other things to take it back, which is really going to offend a lot of the leftists. The women wanted to have children, and because they couldn't, they went to go kill shit so they could earn the honor of losing kids back. That's what it was. Let's be honest.
I love Prismatics' shit. He's so funny.
Prismatics is a sweetheart. I mean,
he's a great guy. He's a really nice guy.
How long has he been hanging out around you?
He drops in every so often. I think because he's in another country, so time difference might be an issue. But again, he drops in every so often, so it's like pretty cool.
Because I've known Priz for quite a while over on Twitter and other stuff.
Yeah, like I just kind of started talking to him. I think he was following me, or I was following him first, because we had people in common, and I would direct message him on a lot of shit. And then he came over here, and then I was like, but the thing is, Prismatics never said he was a boy or girl online, so I was like, I have no idea. And then he said,
I should skip all the dumb Viking jokes with you, maybe?
He is Norwegian, yes. Well,
technically speaking, I have some of that blood too. It's just the majority of me is Celtic and Sioux with the others mixed in.
Well, it's funny because like Prismatic says I am Norwegian, and I'm just laughing because like if you ever watch regular ordinary Swedish mealtime, I think the two other Nordic countries think the Finns are weird.
My mom makes a lot of jokes that honestly make Norwegians sound dumber than Rose Island on Golden Girls. And my mom's the one that has more of the Norwegian blood, so
well, he says, no, do them.
I still remember, because I've got friends in countries. The greatest thing is that every place I found universal. I insult Brits constantly. I end up with a whole bunch of British friends, and they start showing up to all my streams. I insult Aussies constantly. I call them penal colony wankers and every other thing I could think of. And suddenly I've got a bunch of Aussie friends. I start talking to a bunch of Irish people, and we're all making drunk jokes and stuff like that. I've got one sending me messages constantly in my emails for like the last decade from Ireland, where he's sending me stuff like patio hacker, where we're a little too drunk and not technologically forward here in Ireland. So if you would just forward this on to all of your followers for me so I don't have to, thanks. I mean, it's shit like that. And it's like, but one of the ones he sent me was, we Irish have a reputation for liking to get drunk and punch things. And it makes me so damn mad. I want to go down to the pub and punch somebody.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just sitting there going, okay. This is what people don't get when they get all offended at jokes. Especially when you come from different cultures or different mixed homes or stuff like that. The ethnic jokes was how we found a way to find common ground. We made fun of our backgrounds and each other's backgrounds so we could laugh and we could find a place where we could get along.
Yeah. Well, I think people are getting tired of getting treated like with kid gloves. It's like either this, like people are either really afraid of not making the jokes anymore, or people like don't understand humor and then they get offensive.
Do you know who Williams and Rhea are? Do you know who Williams and Rhea are?
Oh shit, that sounds familiar, but please tell me.
They're also known as the Indian and the white guy.
Oh God.
They have been traveling doing comedy together with each other over 50 years. Their entire purpose is to make everyone the same by making as many racist jokes as possible to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This Rhea is from my tribe. They actually formed in South Dakota here. But they've gotten in more trouble places. They got told we're not going to let you do shows unless you don't talk about Indian stuff. And Rhea's like, that's awful racist, right? Telling the native guy I can't talk about and joke about my own culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because they get so worried somebody's going to get offended. It's like, then go shove it up your ass if you're offended. Now, his response is what I always love, because he always goes, I'm fine, I won't do it, and then does it anyways.
That's how I kind of am at conventions. They said, well, you're a woman of color, Christy, go on your panel. Like, I go on and I say some shit and people like I'll make jokes about Scarlett Johansson. Now I have nothing against the actress, and the director and the manga artist like approved of it, and they were both Japanese. I don't know why, whatever, I don't care, right? But I just said, since Black Widow was dead, I said, now she needs a job in the Marvel universe. Just make her into Psylocke, where it's a white girl that turns Asian. And I said that on a panel. They're like, oh. And I'm like, that's what fucking happens to Psylocke. She turns Asian. Like, literally, if you read her backstory. I'm going like, look, Marvel, come out with another character that's kind of cool.
Can we please let's talk
Make
about
a
this?
movie about Psylocke. She's my favorite character. Like, fucking do it.
Even in the 70s, I had this issue where they didn't make a unique female character. They made a female character that was based on a male character that already existed, or he handed the mantle out over to her, or they swapped one and stuff. They have never really done that many unique characters for women and minorities. We just get hand-me-downs. And the few unique characters we get, they then flop around. Look what they fucking did to Falcon. He was the first standalone black superhero for the comics.
Which one was this?
Falcon.
Oh, yeah, Falcon was pretty cool.
And then they fucking turned him into a hand-me-down of Captain America. They actually took away the mantle he had.
What was his original mantle? I'm trying to remember. Because
he was the first fully created, unique, solo black superhero for the comics. In other words, he wasn't somebody's hand-me-down. He wasn't part of a team. He wasn't any of this. He was created on his own.
Mm.
And they took that mantle from him by making him a hand-me-down of Captain America.
Mm.
It's actually a backstep. It's making the character less special.
Yeah.
And they tell you if you don't like it, you're racist. It's like, no, I don't like hand-me-downs. I don't want fucking hand-me-downs. I don't want somebody else's character spun to look like me, blah, 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 blah. I want a fucking character based on our cultures and mythologies. There's so many cultures, mythologies, religions, all this stuff that's never been fucking touched. Fucking touch them.
You know, I have to say, there was this kind of cool outfit that I saw. I ran into the guy, and he was a cosplayer, and he cosplayed Captain America, but he did it if he was a native. And I think the guy is Navajo. I never really got to know his tribe, but he did it in a way that was really kind of awesome. So it's like the native Captain America. I think that's what he's called or something.
Yeah, they did a native one in the comics. The native one in the comics was bullshit.
No, this is not the one in the comics. Like this guy, like actually adapted.
I have nothing against people. If you have your culture, but you grew up loving this hero and you want to cosplay that hero, fucking do it. If you're a white girl and you want to wear a native costume, fucking do it. I don't give a shit. But don't take somebody's culture or heritage or the stories written to them and race swap it around because you're too lazy to come up with something unique.
Yeah.
And tell us we're supposed to sit down and go, thank you, sir, and swallow it like we're fucking special now.
Yeah. I just like the idea about like fucking I like the idea about Psylocke, like how it was actually just an assassin merged in with a telepath, or like with, I don't know if she's an empath, but you know, she was psychically inclined like Jean Grey basically, but they made her more deadly with an assassin thing. That's what I liked about Psylocke. That's the thing.
I want to do a story that would probably offend a lot of people, and I've been talking about it a long time, which would be I would even come up with a title that would basically mock that this is the real Birds of Prey. And what it would actually be would be girls that were mixed race between Navajo and Sioux, because the tribes had no shared interests almost and no love lost to each other. And the Navajo have the skinwalkers and all that. The Sioux are very clear you don't mess around with trying to do that spiritual stuff where you're trying to make yourself the great spirit. It's closer to biblical viewpoints of magic. And so to have skinwalkers
fuck with my head. Sorry to say.
The whole concept is to have skinwalkers that are part of both tribes that have this ability naturally, but they transform into the spirit animals from the Lakota side. And so they're like stuck between the two cultures trying to fight off the corruption in both.
And they get shit from both, basically.
Yeah. And I've had this thought for a long time. I even have a layout of exactly which characters, and that this would actually be sisters and cousins.
I would fucking draw that comic. I think that would be a good comic to draw, because it's just like, I think you would explain it, but at the same time, it's like we would draw it, and it's like, well, she's not a native artist. Like, fuck you, okay? Like, we have somebody that's actually studied this shit. Like, is it a true thing?
Yeah.
That's what kind of pissed me off in some things at Wakanda Forever. Like, they try to make Namor, like, into the feathered serpent. I said, first of all, they don't really have shit to do with water, okay? He just heralds in the rain god. Just call it, like, okay, I'll even accept it if you just say, he's the son of Quadalehique, who is just the goddess of water, and Talok, which is the god of rain. And they had a baby. It's Quetzalcoatl. But Quetzalcoatl is portrayed as a medicine man. He's a feathered serpent. He's medicinal visions, and it's the wind.
This whole concept comic I'm telling you about would have one of the most shameless self-inserts ever, because the main character I always had designed after myself, the pale-skinned native girl who would morph into an eagle. So But this would be, and if I could get this comic done along with Tribal Fairy, which is a lot more complicated, it's actually these dreams I've had since I was a child about these women in the tribe who are female braves in different eras. I would want somebody to draw it who could mimic the sketch style of my dad's great uncle, the one that's honored all over the museum in Crazy Horse for his artwork. And then I would do my traditionalist pencil work and my tribal art style on top to finish it. Mm-hmm. So it would be combining the generations of the family in honor of him. Mm-hmm. So I have this whole concept, this whole idea, but I have to get better at doing the color stuff. And I have to find somebody who can actually do that kind of Old West tribal art style.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by Old West tribal art style? I have to look at the
Oh, shit. One sec. Let me see. I might be able to get you a screen share. One moment.
Okay, I'll have to open up and clip. I would love a comic based on the part of the goddess Leda who turned into a swan to protect her own son. I know of Leda in the swan. I don't know about that one. What's that one, Owl? See, I love mythologies and cultures. Like, I would say the Navajo Skinwalker, that shit fucks with my head so bad. Like, I don't know why.
It fucks with most people. That's why I would want to mix it. Because the Lakota viewpoint of spirit animals is very different, and they're supposed to be the physical representation of that what your spirit most is. So they have the spirit animals from the Lakota, and as they discover their soul and spirit and do the vision quest, they start accidentally morphing into these animals as skinwalkers. Hmm. So it would literally be them like tripping between the cultures, saying that both are true, which would probably aggravate both tribes a bit, but it would be at least honoring the actual cultures.
Yeah, I mean,
this is what I mean by Andrew Standing Soldiers, Old West Native style. Mm-hmm. This is one of the most prolific Native artists that ever was. This is my dad's great uncle, and they actually have an entire wing of his paintings over at Crazy Horse in the museum now.
Okay, let me take a look in a minute. Sorry, I'm just like also posting a bunch of shit because I'm advertising for an art auction, guys. I'm gonna
and I'll zoom in on a few of these too while we're doing this.
Okay, let me take a look. Hold on. Give me a moment. But yeah, no, it's just like, as I said, it's very interesting, like, you know, about that stuff. Just double checking to see if I got everything. Yes, I did. And I'm just trying to see what's here.
And in fact, the original visitor center, when they first started working on Crazy Horse, back when it was just a teepee at the location, mm-hmm. He actually painted the mural around that original teepee.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's kind of funny though, because it's like, it's so funny when you like actually learn about the Native cultures. They're like, oh, they all have teepees and shit. It's like, no, that was the Plains Indians because they were more nomadic. If you want to talk about that, and it's like, it was funny how I was pointing out like it's kind of funny.
It's also the Plains Indians didn't have totem poles because again, they didn't work with being nomadic, and yet you see these movies where they always have like totem poles next to teepees, and you're like,
Out of curiosity, so who did the totem poles? I think it was more the Pacific Northwest, right?
No, the totem poles went through part of the Pacific Northwest area and then down into the south. They were never picked up by most of the plains and most of the northern tribes. Yeah, and the reason they were done there is because the totem poles are one of the few native symbols that did not originate here. It did originate with the few tribes that came from Asia. It came from Mongolian culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as soon as you're ready, I've got the screen share up for you.
Okay, hold on. I'm just doing this. By the way, guys, in this art auction, I will have stupid sketches included, so do understand that.
I mean, at least your character is very simply drawn, but I could probably do a little more artistic, detailed version of it, you know?
Honestly, if you drew her like a piece of shit, I wouldn't care. To be honest, because she's a piece of shit. So, let me go ahead and take a look at this guy. So, okay, add to stream.
Okay, so I'll show you the main page here first so you can get kind of an overview.
And I'm double looking. It's weird because I'll play like 3 videos and I'll like take information from
and then if you actually click and zoom in on these here, you can see bigger details on it. Mm-hmm. This is the art style, that Old West combined with Native style that he was known for. And I want to do the comic so that when I do my pencils on this, it would basically look more like a pencilized version of his paintings. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute. Prismax did a bunny, I think.
But you can see he was massively prolific. They have a huge wall wing dedicated to all his work. They have a warehouse full of his stuff. They can't fit in the museum until they expand it later. Mm-hmm. Literally. I mean, he paid for everything in life when Indians weren't allowed to have jobs by painting for people so they'd do things for him in return.
Gotcha.
He paid his way through life by doing paintings for people and drawings for people. But here you can actually see more of the sketch style that went into how he painted and drew. I want somebody who can sketch like this in that style so that when I colorize it, it'll look like a combination of me and my ancestor. Does that make sense?
I hear you on that.
So that's the idea. And like I said, I've always been very enamored with a lot of the stuff he did. And I go visit the wall and stuff that he did all the time because it's family. And it, to me, it's just amazing, you know? There's a unique style there that doesn't quite match other people's bodies and horses and stuff like that. It's a little bit different shaping. And it's a little bit of that rough old Western style.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me. I'm trying to remember. It was like not Roy Rogers. It was like this other painter, and Remington, I think that was his name. I know Remington is a gun, but I think his name was Remington or something. So it kind of reminds me. It kind of reminds me of some aspects of that. I mean, not exactly. Don't get me wrong, but.
So that's why I've been so slow on trying to work on the comics I want to make. Well, that and I have several projects going already. I can't finish as fast because I have to replace my computer, and I'm taking care of my mom a good chunk of the year now. So, you know, I want to get to this when I have time to just sit down and dedicate to it, because until I finish the military pinup book, I still have like 100 pages to colorize myself in that book. And by hand, that's fucking a lot of work. But that's what I was talking about. So you get a kind of a glimpse of what I was saying.
Yeah. No, I think that's really awesome. But yeah, no, I think that's a really good story. If somebody wrote more stories like that, the problem is like, you probably saw me post on Facebook, because I've kind of had it with people where they go like, oh, well, I just wrote a character and kind of shat it out. And that's like annoying. It's like they kind of shat out this partially aborted slug that could have been something. And now I'm not saying you have to have this masterpiece of deep introspective thought. Those are great. But in my opinion, what I really would like to see is just like an actual honest story. Like Nobody is kind of a silly story. It's like, thanks for watching. It's 4:20. Do you know where your stash is? Apparently.
It's more to me like, do you know where your stoners are?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the next show coming up, I suppose, or coming soon.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
What?
Meanwhile, I'm talking to you and I flip open a message I got from one of my friends and it says, just because she weighed as much as 2 people doesn't mean you had a threesome.
That is hilarious, dude. That is the best thing.
I think you would love my meme group I have over on Twitter, because we are just fucking savage in there.
Oh, there are people that send me all sorts of shit and like, what the hell? Actually, there's like this really funny, let me show you this funny fucking. So, okay. So one of my new favorite bands is called The Slants, right? You have to read about them because they're really fucking funny. What it is that they were an Asian band because they had all sorts of Asians on it. So they decided to title themselves as The Slants, like it's a kind of a punk thing, you know, kind of a joke. Well, they were told you can't go and name the band that because it's racist. And they're like, look at us, look at us, look at us. So they actually went up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that was deemed unconstitutional, that they couldn't name their band that because this falls under parody. So now that they put out all this music under the band name called The Slants, which I found funny as fuck, I was laughing. So there we go.
Okay.
So, but yeah, some of the people, I think some of them were Korean, some of them are Filipino.
Aw, thank you, Priz. Priz posted out that we were live together and tried to get more people over here.
Oh, yeah, that's sweet. Thank you. We've got roughly a half an hour left. And then I got to go play the ending bit and everything. But yeah, the Slants are really cool. They like actually sound like synth pop, but like the like if you were in the 80s yourself, which is actually really cool.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people crap on the whole hair bands in 80s, but I loved a lot of the music then.
Better than some of the shit now. I sound like a grumpy old bitch, but I swear to God, that's how I feel right now.
I have like a few things I really love with music. I love classic styles being blended. I love a lot of metal because they really use a lot of the classical elements. It's educated, it's well and thoughtful, and I like the symphonic, operatic, and speed metals because they use a lot of classical blended in their styles. They use a lot of true musical education, stuff like that. They use a lot of mythology, history, and stuff in the songs. I love that, you know? And I love the classical rock and metal. I have a soft spot for a lot of the 80s crazy. I'm not a big fan of the 90s. There were a few grunge artists that still kept to the actually being classically trained, actually having meaningful lyrics, but most of them, it wasn't.
I don't like the mumble rap shit. That annoys me. It's like, if you have to have me rap, if I have to hear rap, I have to hear like an actual.
I'm not a rap fan. I am not a rap fan. No.
I actually like rap to a point. Actually, gangster rap made me fucking laugh my ass off because I'm like, oh my God, they're swearing all over the place.
See, I don't mind swearing. You've heard me talk.
Yes.
But I think the problem I have with gangster rap and a lot of rap is that it's not woven in a way that makes sense in speech. It's not woven in a way that makes sense for the emotion of the song. It's just every other word, and it actually kind of loses half the emotion of the song because of how they just put it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You do it right. You accent that word. You pop the emotion of the reason why you said it. And it can actually make a moment that's already strong in the emotions in the song more powerful and more intense.
Mm-hmm.
If you throw it in everywhere, it just kind of makes it just meh, whatever, you know?
Right.
And so from a logistical, logical, intellectual side, I don't like the way that gangster rap uses swearing. I don't care about swearing, but I prefer it at least use some intellectualism.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like poo-poo jokes and dick jokes. You have to have some sort of wit to them.
Yeah, because if you're just making dick jokes to make dick jokes, they don't get funny. Whereas if you're putting a little thought into it and you're really hitting somebody hard below the belt right when they're least expecting it or something, that shit's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Timing, usage, and the phrasing are everything, darlings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's been pretty good. I'm just really happy that things are going pretty well for me on this front, you know, just like with all the business and everything and just everything popping up and all that other stuff.
What I need to do is just draw your little demon bitch, but just have it with the arms like down in a panic pose with the face just screaming and the hair upright.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, do not put too much thought into this. I mean, obviously have thought, but I mean, it's like, I've had people draw her super sexy with huge porn tits and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. That was better than how I could draw her. And they actually made her sexy looking. So that's the thing. Like I've had.
So they made her a furry wet dream? I mean.
They just made her into like a really, really pale chocolate, like, you know, Lady Death, white. They made her that, like, but with big tits. And I thought that was funny as fuck. Like, it's just like, I just kind of like let people draw whatever fan art they want to of it. I mean, if you've looked at some of the books, it's just like people draw all sorts. Like you're not going to ever fuck up or make a mistake.
No, because I mean, one of the pluses to the like comic strip style is it's hard to truly screw up because it's very free flowing. It's not a strict science. It's not precision. The lips are often overhanging, like on your picture here. The eyes are bugging. That's just how you accent it. If one eye is bigger than the other, it's considered part of the personality. Yeah,
like it's like you kind of draw her like you don't give a shit. Like I kind of drew this sausagey piece of shit because, like, what am I drawing her like? Like a sausagey piece of shit.
That's what's going to be harder for me is acting like I don't give a shit as an OCD woman.
I mean, just have fun with it. Seriously, have fun with it. Like if you want to draw her with huge tits and looking like a porn bod, fine. I've had people draw all sorts of things. Like she has.
Oh, come on. Huge tits don't make us porn bots. I mean.
Well, it's like a certain type of huge titties, you know, like where you've had work.
You're talking about fake ones that look like they're trying to poke the person in the eyes when they're standing. I mean,
Rich is funny because he says, I've got the Steph Wilson template for the tits. And I'm just like, oh, man. I mean, I'm not. Okay.
I mean, I draw huge tits on my characters, but you can see a little bit of natural hang. You can see a little bounce. Well, that they're not all perfectly symmetrical stuff. With natural looking.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I'm not saying, okay, Steph Wilson, if you're out there, I'm not shitting on you. I just think it's funny. You know, like just when that was said, it was just funny. Just, I don't have any disrespect about your artwork. So I just want to put that out there. When I just hear it, it was just funny that Rich said that. That's all. Okay, so it's Owl Hatch said, okay, I'm back again. Neighbor's cat came into my room again, won't leave. She's now sleeping on my bed. Yes, that's what I love about cats. They do not give a fuck. They are unequivocally them.
Cats
then it's-
pick who they are going to love. Somebody else doesn't pick it for them.
Douglas, he's a longtime a fan of mine, and it's like Cunt Man is still scary. I'm just gonna leave it up here. Cunt Man is scary. People walk in and they're like, "What the fuck is this saying?" Cunt Man.
That's one of the words I don't use. But see, there's a difference between my position where certain words from things I've been through in the past or certain words that I personally don't like, I don't use them. And if there's people on my channel, some of them I'll have them avoid, versus trying to go on other people's channels. And I've been on channels where people are going, I don't like that word. It's offensive. It's like, this isn't your channel, bitch.
Yeah, get out of here. I'm not calling Rachel out, you fucker.
It's like, I get people have different tastes in words and which things bother them and which things don't, or which things they like and which things they don't. And that's fine. We all can have that taste. It's the trying to control what other people say and do because you don't like it.
That's Cunt
Shut
Man.
the fuck up.
That's Cunt Man, by the way.
Oh, Lord.
I get why she is here, though. Her owner is in the hospital. She knows she is safe here. Oh, that's sweet. I never want to make. I never want to, man.
He says I make and.
Make an enemy. Like, at first I was like, what?
Man and enemy? Well, what's he trying to do? Get an enemy of yours? It's a man to hump you or what? I mean, come on.
No. He said, basically, I never want to make an enemy of Christie, but he misspelled.
I know. I just have to be a smart ass. I mean.
Well, what I hate is like some of those keyboards on your phone autocorrect. They make you sound so stupid or you don't know grammar.
Oh my God. The other day, I was just trying to fucking tell my friend that I was sick. I literally typed in, I am so sick. And autocorrect turned it into, I am so dick.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck you fucking... It's like I type hugs on it and it turns into jugs. That's not the same thing, please.
Your phone just knows how filthy of a fuck you are.
It's like, I'm not trying to tell my perverted friends jugs when they're depressed, because then they're going to go, really? I get them?
Then they won't be depressed. I'm just saying also. I'm also doing Asian Invasion. I basically copyrighted it, Asian Invasion Yellow Peril. And we're working on Asian Invasion NorCal, a special edition.
I'm just trying to keep myself sane because my husband's not around right now. I have you on Twitter, right?
I think you do. At least I have you on Twitter. I should have you on Twitter.
What's your handle?
No. Oh no, says Douglas hates hates, but he thinks that Cunt Man is like the worst.
I was just gonna throw you into my chat group so you could steal stuff from us too.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead and do that.
But I'm trying to remember what your handle is.
It's HoraTora Studios, and there's also Demon Bitch Official. It's like earlier my phone changed to alpha to alpaca, so I said alpaca males. Oh no, that was in response to fucking Cunt Man. And he says, sweet, horrible dream I had of that beast. He also said he swore that he saw things floating after he got the book of Demon Bitch.
Got you. You're in my crazy group. Be warned, I don't censor anything, and they will drop things that are pornographic images with dirty, perverted sex jokes with them, or look back in the kitchen, bitch, this is how I'll keep you later kind of jokes too. It's like, fucking hell.
What
I
up?
don't
Hail
care.
the panel and chat at Comic Talk. I can't talk today. Comic Talk with Pops in it. You know what's been fucking shitty? I've been waking up at like 1 a.m. or 1:30 for no fucking reason. I've been going to bed early. And then, we can see this kind of domino going down. I will wake up. I cannot go back to bed until 5. And then I had like the weirdest dreams ever. So it's like, it is so great listening to you guys. Makes me have a break from the social media insanity. You both are great. Thank you.
Aw, mwah.
Yeah. Let me see if I post anything fucked up in here. Or I'll do something.
I mean, I'm having trouble with mine. Why are you seeing half this shit? My StreamYard isn't updating the chat. The last thing I saw was alpaca males.
Oh, I just got what up, hail to the panel, the sweet. Might be your connection. It could be. I don't know.
I mean, I am in the middle of nowhere in the mountains. I mean, we have to go over a couple mountain passes to get to a count of 1,000 people who go shopping at one store. So,
Demon Bitch lives.
I wish I was kidding about that, but I'm really, really not.
Yeah, right.
My mom's place is in the middle of nowhere. And yes, it's a fridge behind me because this is where I stay when I'm at mom's place, so I'm not getting in the way of the rest of her house. So I have a workspace there that I do stuff at. I have a workspace here I do stuff at. I got the bed here. I've got all the storage of everything I need here, my clothes and my food and everything else. I've got a closet full of stuff here, and then I've got a fridge here. And I stay out of her way unless I have to, or if we're doing something together.
Hey, Rob Wilson, hail to the panel and chat. Thank you. But yeah, it's funny. But yeah, hey man, rent and bills are due. I want to go and harass a famous person so I can get attention. I don't have to pay. Don't you oppress me.
Hey, do you know how many famous people have blocked me? I'm just saying. I mean, I lost my first Twitter account because apparently Gates McFadden doesn't like me. It's not my fault. She said stupid racist shit, and I had to call her on it.
Who's this again?
Gates McFadden, Beverly Crusher from Star Trek.
Yeah, I've heard rumors she wasn't a very nice person in general.
Well, the thing is that, okay, I don't care what side people are on as long as they're decent to each other.
Yeah.
She sits there and says that if you're white, you're racist. So my instant response was, you know you're white, right? That was the starting point. She said that nobody needs self-defensive guns. I said, that's easy for you to say in your ivory tower with armed security.
Damn.
Apparently that also offended her. And then she actually openly said that she was using her money from Hollywood to affect and mess with elections in other states. And she named 3 states, which happen to be the 3 states with the highest Native population. So I pointed out that rich white woman is trying to silence the voice of natives so that they will agree with her politics.
Ooh.
Nothing I said was incorrect once.
Hey, I get it.
And then her and her fans started really bitching at me. And because she was being such a bitch to me and being so nasty about it, a bunch of my followers decided they didn't like her behavior, so they mass spammed her with "Shut Up, Beverly" and images of Beverly getting told off from Star Trek.
Oh, wow. See, the thing is that I don't get why some celebrities have... I mean, here's the thing. You can have a political position, but it's really weird when I see people, like, randomly harass people in general.
It's one thing... Okay, yes, I was a bit blunt with my opinions, but...
No,
I was not harassing her. Yeah, I know. And they went straight to, we're going to harass you to silence. It's like, and my followers are going, so rich white woman is trying to harass the native chick to not speak up for her culture now. And it's like, that's what it kind of was.
Yeah, and the thing is that what I found really kind of funny about all this is like, it's kind of funny because it's like, as I said, like you shouldn't be, but the thing is, if you're saying really tone deaf shit like that, that's really not good. Like, I'm going to go and affect elections by giving my money. And I'm like,
I don't think it should be legal. I don't think it should be legal to donate to local elections in other areas you don't live in.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that way. I got blocked by Will Wheaton because I told him similar.
See, Will Wheaton's one where, as annoying and stupid as he is politically, I have to give him credit that he is a good father and he did adopt kids that weren't his and treat them as his own.
Yeah.
I can't completely hate him because I think, A, he got tainted growing up around those assholes, and B, at least he's a decent father.
Yeah.
To me, that's more important than all the political bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, like, if they're a good dad, I think that's good. If they're a fucking psycho, then that's another thing. I'll have to talk to you offline about that today. It was some shit.
Before she threw a fit and left, Sirtis blocked me. Obviously, Gail Simone blocked me after she had her fans harassing me for 2 months.
Wait, who are those 2 people? Sorry.
Gail Simone's one of the modern writers at Marvel.
Oh, okay.
Sirtis is one of the other women from Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
She's the one who openly says that you can't be a Star Trek fan unless you agree with her politics, which is completely contrary to the entire point of Star Trek, which is different viewpoints and lifestyles getting along and working together. And then it's openly said that even when her co-stars tell her you're pushing politics too much at events, stop doing this. We're just trying to talk to the fans. I'm going to do it anyways. It's like, well, fuck you, bitch. Even your co-stars think you're too much of a bitch. And they're pretty nutty themselves. So...
I mean, it's like kind of like I don't like it when people go like, well, you don't follow this, then you should fucking not be my fan. I'm like, okay, stop. You know, like enough. You know, I don't. See, the thing is, like, I don't particularly take a political stand on my fucking comics. I just point out what's stupid because I'm not going to be like, you know, this versus them. I just said, like, this shit pisses me off. I see people like this a lot of the time. But I never, the thing is, the problem is what it's gotten with humor, I say, quote unquote, is you punch down on a group of people. You don't like do a satire on a person or a type of person or a group of people. You actually do mean stuff. Like you punch down. And like, there's one thing about like making jokes about gifted children, right? I'm saying that because I was a gifted kid, right? But if you're saying every gifted kid has something fucked up or wrong with them, it's like I take offense to that because some gifted kids are actually kind of normal. We may be a bit weird, but we don't.
It's the closest we can get. There is some scientific truth to the higher the intelligence, the more other parts of the brain do struggle. There is some science behind that, but again, it's a overall. There's always exceptions, bases, rules of how much, how far, and stuff. And most people have something that's not quite right compared to everybody else.
Right.
And that's not just in the intelligence spectrum. And that's, again, I'm speaking here, and I was in the 12th grade when I was 13, you know. I'm speaking here from experience myself.
Yeah. No, I was a gifted kid too, but like my mom actually, when I was young, before I ever attended school, she went ahead and had me tested for autism, and I was not on the spectrum at all.
I am.
Like I had to fucking say that, and it's like, you sound so stupid right now. You know.
See, that's the thing. Is, the other one I see is that people say, you know, these things, and you still see articles claiming that people who are autistic are low IQ. It's like, actually, while there's a few high, low functioning types that can affect IQ, the majority of people who are autistic have an actually higher average IQ than most people.
Yeah, it's also dependent on the type of autism and all that other stuff, and it's a pretty complex thing. Like,
that's why I said the type and severity and stuff like that play a part, but overall.
Yeah, because like the thing is that what's kind of interesting is that my friend, one of my friends, his sister is low functioning, and she's such that she has to be institutionalized. Right, when I'm a friend that I knew, and he said actually the reason why that a lot of people who are severely autistic are portrayed kind of like in the movies as like they just. I'm going to be very frank. The one that I saw, it's like they bang their head on the floor and say, hello, Billy, hello, Billy. You know, they just mechanically repeat back to you. This is not my opinion, and this is just how they're portrayed. This is how I saw it. Initial portrayal of people who had autism in Hollywood. Well, come to find out, the thing is that if you are low functioning, autistic, and this is when he was talking in regards to his sister, you will tend to have other mental conditions and issues go hand in hand. You could be bipolar, schizophrenic.
Most people, even higher functioning autism, you have more than one mental issue.
Yeah.
I have several, and I know it. I'm open about it because I've learned how to control them pretty well usually.
Yeah.
You know, but it still fucks with you.
Yeah, like with his sister, it's also she had a neurological condition. It's not tinnitus. I think it was something like tonitis, but if anybody knows, but it's where your like muscles lock up in really weird ways. It's not cerebral palsy, but cerebral palsy can can accompany low functioning autism. So it's like I didn't know that, but if I didn't have a friend that told me that, it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, they were pretty smart.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I know my situation.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my issues are I have a lot of mental conditions. Part of them caused by severe seizures as a kid that actually caused nerve damage, brain damage, scar tissue. It actually fried the connection between what I'm saying and thinking, so I don't filter. I can't. If it pops in my head, it pops out my mouth. I sound like I have Tourette's half the time. I've actually spasmed and screamed the F word several times when I wasn't trying to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
know I have issues,
yeah.
but that doesn't mean we're not intelligent. And that's the problem people have. But I get yelled at all the time for making jokes about brain damage, spaz, and stuff like that. It's like, I'm talking about my own fucking conditions.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
You know, like, it's funny because, like, I'm trying to remember, like for a while, like, you know how they would portray people who have, let's see, Tourette's, right? They're like, shit, fuck, you know, like they twitch and shit. And the thing is that that's not really true. And
it's one of the possible ways they can tick.
Yeah, but like the thing is, when I've met people with Tourette's, like that's what they say in media, or people when they're imitating people with Tourette's, that's what they do. But the thing is, what's funny is that I met one of the creators that had Tourette's, and we were on a podcast, and he was just kind of repeating what I said, like, yeah,
which could also be a tick.
Yeah, and the thing is that he said he had Tourette's like he said it before. And so I said, oh, okay. And he was just like, he was kind of imitating me. And I'm like, kind of like, what?
It's
And
it's
then-
severity levels too.
Yeah.
There
Yeah. And then-
there's like other conditions. There's multiple forms of Tourette's, and
Yeah.
do you know who Sweet Anita is?
I haven't,
She-
but let me finish
she-
the, let me
okay,
finish the
sorry.
story real quick. So he was just like repeating after me. And at first it kind of took me off, like, why is he talking while I'm talking? Oh, wait, he mentioned he had Tourette's. But the thing is, I've known people who have had Tourette's, but they didn't have a severe manifestation or very mild, or they got it to it early enough and it wasn't bad. So the medication they took really suppressed the tics and all that. But I never met anybody that actually actively had a case of Tourette's. So it was kind of a weird adjustment for me. Not in a bad way. It was just like I wasn't used to that.
Yeah,
Go on.
Sweet Anita's one where she's a British streamer who has a very severe form of Tourette's, and it got very undiagnosed until she was in her 20s, and so they can't control it now. They've tried, but she'll be sitting there, and you see her try to play things like Among Us, and she'll be sitting there going, "It was me, fuck you. Why should we boot him? Because he's a slut," and stuff like that. And you can tell she's not meaning to.
Yeah,
and it's like. But people tried to get her booted offline multiple times, telling her she was faking all this stuff. No, she's really not. You can see it's not with her, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing, one of the interactions that was interesting to me is because, okay, she looks very white. Her dad's black, so she's mixed. She talked about freaking out when she was in a bathroom because memories of some of the stuff that she went through with her dad started ticking, and she actually was saying the N-word with other black girls around. And she was scared she was going to upset them and get hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can understand why that scared her. I can also understand how it happened with that condition in her memories. Because she's a very redheaded gothic girl mother and a black father. And she grew up in a mixed family in an area that was more uptight in England. So she put up with a lot of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can see how that happened. And I understand it.
So it looks like Pops was telling me we got to start wrapping it up a bit. So just to let you know,
Right.
winding down a little bit. The other portrayal that's the famous is the Sheldon Cooper stereotype. Now, in some cases, to be fair, the people that I've encountered that have had autism, they do kind of exhibit those traits that Sheldon does. But as I said, autism is very varied. There's certain common ideas about, not ideas, but common characteristics of it. Because I've known people that were on the spectrum and they sort of, but I've met the opposite where they kind of hyper compensate to be social, but you can kind of tell they're a little bit off.
Not right, not fitting there. See, you got to remember that there were 4 conditions that they put in this umbrella as autism. They have very different ways they manifested, very different forms of both tics, reactions, and how to deal with people who are in them. Between those 4, there were several subgroups also. They blurred them all into one group. They don't even honestly usually tell people which type they have anymore. They just tell them, no, you're autistic. So you don't even know which type of behavior you need to do with them.
Well, remember how Asperger's was actually called Asperger's because you had just people being dickheads and they said, oh, I'm on the spectrum. It's like, please don't do that. You're a shithead. You know, there was a while there were people doing that and it's like, don't, that's fucking insulting. That's actually a piece of shit thing to do. You're just a shithead, you know?
And the thing is, that I think that's the real reason they changed from Asperger's. I don't think it's because there was some dark ties to the guy who was originally diagnosed and they want named after him anymore. I think that was their excuse to get rid of a name that was made fun of so much, so they could get rid of the whole Asperger, Spurg, and stuff like that. I think that's why they changed the name of it. Honestly,
I didn't hear about this. So what's this about?
I can't remember what they changed it to. They officially changed it in medical journals to another name a couple of years ago, citing the reason to do it was because the first person that was officially diagnosed had obscure ties back to World War II Germany, if you get what I'm saying. And it's like, I don't believe for a minute that's why they did it. I believe it was to get rid of the insulting slurs that were created so much.
Yeah.
But it's like Canners, Asperger's as they call it. I do not remember the new name. It's all these things. They're not the same. It's like when they lumped all these different trauma conditions as PTSD, and you don't have the differences between what happens with the body's responses with sexual assault versus military service and shell shock, which shell shock was also because it actually affected the nerves in the body because you were actually shaken by all the explosions and noises. So it actually had a very specific set of symptoms. I mean, all these conditions, there's a reason they weren't lumped together originally. One of the only things I will say I agree with the name changes of conditions lately is changing battered wife to battered spouse, because it is not a one-sided thing.
Yeah,
And that's one of the few places where men actually gained ground, is they renamed it battered spouse.
Oh, all right. So this is what I got to do. Pop's giving me the heads up. So I got to go play this ad, log off. And yeah, and I want to just talk with you offline a bit. And let me go just conclude this. So guys, thank you very much. I will not be here next week. I will be in Culver City. So please come by the signing. There's two comic bug things going on. So I will have a signing at both stores. So here you go. If you're in the LA area, please come on by, say hi, and you'll get a signed book once you buy it. So I'm going to go and sign off and I'm going to play that. So I'll talk to you in a bit next week. Bye-bye.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
And let's just do 6 Gun Gorilla.